Howdy do, Who fans, and welcome to the Big Blue Box podcast. My name's Gary.
My name's Adam.
And welcome to episode 218.
Yes.
One day, I shall come back. Yes, I shall come back. Until then, there must be no regrets, no tears, no anxieties. Just go forward in all your beliefs and prove to me that I am not mistaken in mine.
Our lives are different to anybody else's. That's the exciting thing. Nobody in the universe can do what we're doing.
I've reversed the polarity of the neutron flow, so the TARDIS should be free of the force field now.
You may be a doctor, but I'm the doctor. The definite article, you might say.
The trouble with time travel is, one never seems to find the time.
Change, my dear, and it seems not a moment too soon.
Unlimited rice pudding, etc., etc.
I am the Doctor!
For now, for this moment, I am the Doctor again.
The ground beneath our feet is spinning at 1,000 miles an hour, and the entire planet is hurtling around the sun at 67,000 miles an hour, and I can feel it. We're falling through space, you and me.
People assume that time is a strict progression of cause to effect, but actually, from a non-linear, non-subjective viewpoint, it's more like a big ball of wibbly-wobbly, timey-wimey stuff.
I could be a curator. I'd be great at curating. I'd be the great curator.
I could retire and do that. I'm the Doctor. I've lived for over 2,000 years, and not all of them were good. I've made many mistakes, and it's about time that I did something about that.
Bit of adrenaline, dash of outrage, and a hint of panic knitted my brain back together. I know exactly who I am. I'm the Doctor. Sorting out fair play throughout the universe.
Howdy do, Who fans. Welcome to the Big Blue Box podcast. Hope you've all had a cracking week and that you've all managed to do something Doctor Who related.
Yeah.
Even in the barren wilderness that is Doctor Who at the moment.
Isn't it?
Very quiet out there.
I know.
We haven't got any news this week. Exactly that, mate. Yeah.
Yeah.
We haven't got any news. We've got one piece of merch to talk about, which I know Adam is going to love.
Yeah.
It's his favourite subject.
Classic Doctor Who.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we're going to review Torchwood Countrycide. Are we still on series 1? Crikey.
Yeah. Yeah. Strange, isn't it? Because we've blitzing through Sarah Jane. But yeah, we're still on series 1 of Torchwood.
Indeed. Wowzers.
Yeah.
Welcome aboard, new listeners, new subscribers. Glad to have you here. Long-time listeners, welcome back. For those that don't know, we have a review schedule. Every week we go through Doctor Who, classic and new, Sarah Jane Adventures, and Torchwood. So this week it is Torchwood's turn. And yes. Quite
grisly old countryside.
Yeah, it does make you think twice, doesn't it, about booking that little barn conversion down in the countryside somewhere.
Yeah, I packed the tent away. I was like, no, don't think I will. Yeah, you don't want to be eating any beef burgers either while watching this one.
No rat burgers.
No.
None at all.
No.
Old Torchwood, eh? Captain Jet.
Captain Jet, yeah.
John Barrowman's been really active, hasn't he, recently? Since he's left the jungle, he's been all over the place. And I saw that he's announced his tour. You know, he's done this a few times over the years, hasn't he? Where he does it's almost like an evening with kind of thing, but it's a larger scale. So instead of in a small television studio, it's like at the Albert Hall or Wembley Arena or something. And it's basically John Barrowman being a queen for half of it.
Mr. Fabulous.
And the other half is, singing like show tunes and musical stuff and some pop songs that he's had out over the years and stuff. So I just noticed like his Instagram feed is pretty much daily. There's stuff on there every single day. I think he did a round of television. You know, in the UK, we have these morning talk shows that are quite popular, like Lorraine and This Morning and all that stuff.
Yeah.
He was on all of those. I think he was a co-host on This Morning with Holly Willoughby. And now he's back in the US doing something, and then he's off to a convention next week, and then he's back doing... He's just all over the place. He's busy man.
He is. He's a very busy man, isn't he?
Yeah.
It's ever since because he popped into the jungle, didn't he? For those that watch, what's it called? I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here. He was in that.
Came third, didn't he? I think. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. Second or third, yeah. So yeah, he is a very busy chap, and he's going to be at LFCC in in July, and he's going to be at London Film and Comic Con.
He is. Yeah.
He's there as well. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that reminds me, I'm looking forward to the convention scene kicking off. Very much so. I'm up for it this year. Like last year, I don't know if anyone remembers, but I was a little bit, not sort of down about the whole thing, but I was a little bit like, yeah, I'm not too fussed about cons this year. I was a little bit like, they're so busy and crazy and mental and all that stuff. I just want to get in and get out.
Yeah.
I was like the Grinch of the convention scene last year. But this year I'm up for it, mate. I'm up for, especially London Film and Comic Con's got some cool people already. Are you going to meet Shatner? Have you met him before?
Actually, I would love to meet him, although I hear terrible things about him. I hear he's not the nicest guest to meet. But, that's hearsay. I'm not, don't take it as fact. But I do love the original series of Star Trek, and I have always wanted to get a photo with him. I mean, the thing is, in the photo session, is you don't really get to meet him anyway. It's literally 2 seconds and you're gone. So it wouldn't, I'm not going to be too worried if he doesn't have a full-on conversation with me. But yeah, I hear he's not that chatty. And also, every photo I've seen with him, it does look like the person. It does look like they've been told to stand at least a foot away from him.
Oh, really?
He's always sat down, no touching. Yeah, it does seem a little bit. But I don't know. I am tempted because, as I said, him and Leonard Nimoy, who's sadly no longer with us. I would love to have met those guys because I adore the original series of Star Trek. But yeah, he's a temptation. Jenna's there as well. Now, I'm not going to tell that. I'm not going to tell that story because everyone said it went at the disastrous time when Jenna Coleman snubbed me, and I've hated her ever since. But I'm willing to shell out. I think she's 35 quid, isn't she, for a photo?
Yeah,
I'm willing to shell out to get a proper photo with her if she's obliging, as long as she don't wear that silly beanie hat that she often wears in these photo shoots. Just looks ridiculous.
Oh yeah.
But I might, because I need to. As I said to my good friend Dad, I need to replace that negative experience of meeting her with a positive one, hopefully. So I'm quite tempted to get a pic with her as well. So her and Shatner are on my list too.
Yeah, his autograph price is the very meagre 75 quid.
I won't be getting his autograph.
Or if you want the photo, 65.
Yeah, I'm on more of a photo. Because if you remember last year as well at LFCC, one of the things that really annoyed me was it was so hard to get autographs. I mean, only a couple of years ago, I can remember me and you meeting McGann. And yeah, we probably had to queue for about 20 minutes, but it was, everybody seemed to be fairly accessible.
Yeah.
But last year, even like people like Stephen Moffat, they were handing out tickets saying, no, you've got no chance. You'll have to come back at 4. And it was impossible, wasn't it? They were just constantly handing out tickets. Come back. You might get to meet him. It was very difficult to get autographs last year. I think because the amount of people that go to these things has increased and stuff. So the amount of tickets they sell. So I'm not too bothered about autographs particularly. As much as I'd love them, I just sort of think it's become impossible. Whereas the photo shoots, at least if you buy one, you've got a fairly good chance of getting in. Although it's still not guaranteed. I always find that amazing that they can charge you for say £75 to £95 for a photo, but there's still no guarantee you'll get it. I find that incredible, but it's very unlikely. The most of the time you will actually get the photo. So
yeah,
it's
and it's shaping up to be a fairly good one so far. I think the tickets will sell fairly quick because Jason Momoa's there again, and
he's popular, isn't he?
Yeah, so it all sort of blew up when he was announced. So he's there again. In terms of Doctor Who people, we have, obviously, Jenna Coleman, you've just mentioned. John Barrowman's there. We have McCoy and Colin Baker and Sophie Aldred, John Leeson, Peter Purvis, John Levine. That's it for Who stars so far. But I tell you what makes me laugh is I remember when Showmasters announced the London Comic Con Spring.
Oh, yeah.
Which is the first weekend of March. And they kind of marketed this as like a little small event to kind of warm you up for the big one in July.
Yeah.
And it's exactly the same venue, and they've got so many stars there. It's it's basically the same as the summer one.
They got some good ones, haven't they?
Yeah, they got some crazy people there at the spring one. John Sim will be there. William Russell.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah,
Brian Miller, Liz Sladen's husband, Jacqueline King, Donna Noble's mum. McCoy's there. Colin Baker. Those two, they'll go to bloody anything. Who else is there? Sarah Sutton.
Bernard Cribbins.
Bernard Cribbins is there. Yeah, it's going to be awesome.
Yeah, he's a good one.
Yeah, loads of people. Loads of people. Oh, Sharon Clark, who played Graham's wife in the latest series. Grace. Yep, she's going to be there. It's crazy. And there's loads of Star Wars people there as well, which is cool. So, yeah, the little spring event that was meant to be a smaller, more cozy, less busy event is now going to be absolutely rammed in exactly the same way as the big summer one. So there you go. But I'm looking forward to the con scene this year. Defo.
Yeah, they did incredibly well last year, didn't they? Getting all the doctors, nearly all the doctors, including Chris and Matt Smith and Tennant. That was quite a crazy, and it's quite nice to see this year they've got a few more of the classic and the cheaper Who guests as well, because that's one thing we said last year, wasn't it? It was brilliant that they got all the doctors, but the prices were so high, and they didn't really have many of the sort of £10 to £15 guests that they had the previous year. And we were saying that's a bit of a shame, really, because unless you're going to shell out all that money, there isn't really anyone for you to meet from Doctor Who, unless you're going to spend sort of £500 meeting the doctors. So it's nice that they've got a few people like Sarah Sutton and John Leeson that are around the sort of £10 to £15 mark this year as well.
No, that's cool.
Yeah.
So how much are tickets then? So the main one in July is £18 for a single day, and the spring one, it's the same. It's £12 on no, that's a child one. Oh no, yes, £18, exactly the same. £16 on a Sunday.
Yeah.
So not much.
I might do the spring one, or work depending. I've got the spring one on the. I mean, I'm definitely up for the London one. Really want to do that. But I might do the spring one as well, actually, if money permitting and work permitting and all that sort of thing.
Yeah,
it's quite tempting. I'd like to get a proper photo of Bernard Cribbins.
That would be cool, actually.
Yeah, that would be good. Yeah.
You been up to anything else, buddy? Anything Doctor Who related? I've been quite slow on Doctor Who last week. Nothing much.
Yeah. Well, I've been continuing to read Scratchman, the Doctor Who novel by Tom Baker. I'm really liking that. It's what I love about it is A, it's a good story. B, it's full of Tom's wit. I mean, you can totally tell he wrote it. It's full of his little quirkiness, and also the chapters are really short. So it's the sort of book you can absolutely blitz through, if you know what I mean. Because it's a big hardback as well. So you sort of think, it's not Lord of the Rings style, but it's it's a big hardback. So no, I'm blitzing through that and absolutely loving it. And he was on Graham Norton at the weekend, Radio 2, doing a little interview promoting it. Did you get to hear it?
I heard some of it. Yeah, just a summary. Yeah,
it was a great interview. Him and Graham just got on so well. It was brilliant. I actually missed it. I was sat on my computer backing up some files, and then I'd been talking about it all the night before as well. Oh, Tom's on Radio 2 tomorrow. Oh, yeah, I think I must listen to that. I suddenly got to 12 o'clock. I was like, oh, no, quick, get the radio on. Literally just missed him. Then I had to wait another hour and a half for the programme to finish so that you can then play it on the iPlayer. So I sort of went back and listened to it. And it was such a fun interview. Tom is it's the voice and his quirkiness, and he's so mellow these days as well, isn't he? He's just, I just love Tom. So I listened to a bit of that, been reading his book. I haven't got round to listening to the David Tennant podcast yet. I was going to ask you if you'd listened to it.
No, not yet.
Not yet. No. Okay, because I'm hearing really good things about that. So his first podcast dropped, and he's chatting to Olivia Colman in the first one, and apparently it's really, really good. So I'm going to listen to that this afternoon, I think.
Yes.
So that's on my radar. I haven't really done much else, mate. I saw lots of pictures from, there was an event called Science of the Time Lords at some space centre, which we've looked at going before.
In Leicester, the Space Centre in Leicester, yeah.
Yeah, and I tell you, one year I really want to go to that, because the pictures I've seen floating about on Facebook of people I know that went to it, that looked like a great event, actually. It had Peter Davison, Colin Baker, Paul McGann and Sylvester McCoy were all there again. And they do photo shoots around this TARDIS console. It just looks great. And I must admit, well, as I was sat at home listening to Tom on the radio and stuff, I was thinking, God, I'd love to be at a sort of event at the minute. And, I was looking at all these pictures of everyone. And, that did look really good. So maybe that's another one to put on the radar for next year. That looked quite cool.
Yeah, but, absolutely, mate. It does look like a good little event, that one.
Yeah, it does. But apart from that, mate, I haven't been up to much. No, I would have. The other thing I would have loved to have got to is Tom did a last minute signing at FP. So he did the Graham Norton show, recorded that at Radio 2, and then they whizzed him up to FP to do a little signing of the Scratchman book. And I saw, again, just so many great photos from that event as well. That's the thing I like about FP is they genuinely, every event I've been to, they actually let you have photos at the table with the guests. It's not like, come on, we haven't got time for photos, we've got to get everyone through. They actually, got your book signed, quick picture, off you go. And it's, they're normally pretty good like that. And saw lots of pictures of people meeting Tom and getting their Scratchman book signed. And again, I was a little bit jealous of that. I was like, I'm stuck at home doing this stuff. Oh, I really wish I was there. But that looked really good. It's great to see Tom doing a book signing as well. It's
it's awesome. Yeah.
So just been sat at home getting jealous of everyone doing stuff. Really.
No, I read you, mate. I have the same thing a lot of times when I see convention pics and event pics and stuff. Mm-hmm. More so when I see the US conventions, because some of those look very cool.
They do. I've always wanted to do. I want to experience the atmosphere at US convention as well, because in my mind, and I could be completely wrong, but in my mind, the Americans really go for it, and it just seems like they get really into it, like the cosplay. And I just imagine it will always be such a fun event. I'm not saying the UK ones aren't, because they are, but like if you remember thinking back to LFCC last year, do you remember the Saturday when I had a meltdown and I was like, I'm never doing this again? It was the most stressful, horrible day. And I was just like, oh God. And then on the Sunday we had a great day, thank goodness. But I just always get the impression the American conventions are a bit more go with the flow, and they just seem to be a bit more relaxed somehow. I don't know. I could be completely wrong. I've nothing to judge this on, but that's how I imagine them. So I'd love to do like Gallifrey 1 or something one year. It'd be brilliant.
That would be awesome. Or Chicago TARDIS. That's another good
Chicago TARDIS, yeah.
So many. So little time.
I'm just looking to see how many followers David Tennant's got as an update, because we were looking last week, didn't we, to see he'd got like 400 last week, and then I was like, really? I expected him to be on thousands, because he'd just launched, didn't he? So let's do an update. Can't find it now. What's he under?
I think it's is it David Tennant
Pod
or something? Yeah.
I can't find it now.
No, I can't find it.
Anyway, I think he's overtaken me on Twitter, unfortunately, because do you remember last week I was like, he's only got 400 and I've got 2,000. But I think he's on about 50,000
Here we go now. He's got 12,068. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So he's only 10,000 ahead of me then. That's not too bad.
Give it a week, you'll be up then.
Yeah. Brilliant. So we'll give little update on David Tennant.
Yes. Our friend, David Tennant.
Our friend, your friend. I've never met him.
We've met for 3.2 seconds at a photo shoot. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm really hoping he gets announced, actually. He's now the only living Doctor I've got to meet, so I'd love him to be announced for LFCC. I just not on the day when I can't get a ticket. Just it would be good.
Yeah. It will happen, mate. It will happen.
Yeah, I hope so, yeah.
Right. We haven't got any news, as we said.
There's no news.
No, so let's just get our metal buddy in. See what Grumpy Pants has got.
Yeah.
Merch corner. Merch corner. Merch corner.
I don't know whether to be impressed or disgusted.
It's a bit rubbish, but it's pretty. It's very pretty.
Your favourite subject where it concerns toys and collectibles.
What I really need now is another TARDIS in the house. That's what I really need.
So over the last couple of years, the B&M exclusive sets have proved to be quite popular amongst Who fans. We've even seen Black Friday IKEA-style raucous and rucks happen in shops with people trying to bag these. And we've also seen people buying like 50 of them at a time. piling them up in their house and saying, I've bought 50 of them. I'm not going to do anything with them.
Someone did that, didn't they? I was thinking exaggerating, but no, somebody actually did that, didn't they? Posted on Twitter.
Yeah.
All these TARDIS box set lined up. Yeah, ridiculous.
Yeah. So that aside, the guys at B&M are going to release a 5.5-inch fourth Doctor and TARDIS set. So it's the regeneration set. So Tom Baker in the John Pertwee clothes.
Mm.
And it's a nice little set. It's got the new, sounds weird, but it's got the new classic packaging design.
Yeah, it looks quite nice, actually.
Yeah, they seem to be going with. It's got like a nice dark blue with the chrome. They've still got that flipping yellow colour on there. If you look around the bottom, it's got a yellow line.
Yeah.
They can't get away from that bloody yellow.
Just got over yellow.
Get rid of it.
Mustard yellow, yeah.
Get rid of it. So it looks quite nice, and I'm not sure when this is out. Have we got a date on this yet?
There's no confirmed date because they keep saying February time, and they never seem to have proper release dates for these B&M sets. It's a bit annoying, really, but could be any time.
Yeah, could be. And we're still not sure on price either. I imagine it'll probably be around the 20 quid.
I think the Pertwee set was it 20 or 25? I can't remember now.
Yeah,
because that's the thing. The B&M sets, they are normally, they're a budget store, so they normally, the price is fairly reasonable, which is why people buy them all up and sell them on eBay for silly prices, which is really frustrating. But it should be around 25. You can actually get one off the shelf. Yeah.
Yeah. And the little TARDIS looks quite nice, actually.
It does. I like it. Yeah.
And they've changed it a bit because they did release one ages ago, didn't they?
The third Doctor one.
Yeah. Mm. They released that one ages ago, which I think goes for silly money on eBay.
It does. Yeah. Yeah. It was really hard to get, actually. Yeah. It could be mainly because people were just going around bulk buying them and selling them on eBay. But yeah, I think it should have been around 25 quid, I think.
Yeah. So this one looks quite nice. It's like it's got some decent weathering effects on it and stuff like that. And the actual figure itself looks reasonably good.
Yeah, I'm not sure about the figure. I mean, this is just a prototype, so I'm not going to be too harsh on it. I love the look of the TARDIS. I think it's great. The Tom figure is strange, actually, because this is just a reissue of a figure. I mean, they released this before in the time capsule set, I think it was, and it looked fine. But they seem to have, I suppose they've tried to, maybe it's because it's, made to a budget. It doesn't look as good. It looks as if they've done something to the face. I don't know. I can't work out what's different about it, but he doesn't look as good as he did previously, this figure. But I really want to get a set. I mean, I love the TARDIS sets they do just because I love the TARDIS. So hopefully I'll be able to find one on the shelf this time and not have to scour around the country and, grab one off eBay for silly money, because they are nice and they should be a reasonable set. It's funny because I get annoyed that B&M get these because I don't have any. I have a couple of B&Ms, but they're not that close to me. So it does make them harder for me personally to get. So I'm always like, why are B&M getting all these great sets? But I had to rethink that a little at the weekend because we mentioned the Toy Fair last podcast, and they were sort of saying, these sets for the new series will only get released if there's interest from the retailers. And I was thinking, I suppose, in a way, I've got to give B&M a bit of slack, really, because the only reason we're getting these sets is because B&M are willing to invest money into them. And especially as it's classic series, which I love, anything to do with the classic series. So although I find it annoying that these are exclusive to B&M and the staff drive me crazy when you try and phone up to find out if they've got them before you trek 20 miles down the road. They normally don't have a clue whether they've got them or not. I suppose I've got to say, well, at least they're investing in the Doctor Who range. So, which is, obviously a good thing. So,
indeed.
But I do find it frustrating. Yeah, trying to track these down in B&M can be a bit of a bit of a headache.
It can be.
Yeah. But anyway, no release date yet, but it'll be fairly soon.
I would have thought. Yeah, because they've got all the packaging ready and it's all good to go. So probably in the next month or two, I'd say.
That's it. And our good friend Martin from Bad Wolf, he lives very close to a B&M, very close. And he did message me the other day and said, he's going to keep his eye out for one so that, hopefully I can get my grubby little hands on one. So cheers, Martin.
Yeah, good lad.
Yeah.
That's it for merch then. Nothing else really going on. So we're
there's not, is there? No.
Not really. So we're going to slam into our review. Which is,
ESA Torchwood. I think it's episode 6. I'm not too sure, something like that. But it's series 1 and it's Countryside.
17 disappearances within the last 5 months.
It's not human.
None of the bodies have ever been found.
No one's safe.
1 minute they're here, the next, gone.
You can't fight them, they're too strong.
Every 10 years, it takes us again. Harvest. Do you ever get scared, Jack?
Torchwood continues next Sunday at 10 on BBC Three.
BBC Three.
Yay.
Yay, back in the good old days.
In the good old days. Countryside was first broadcast back in 2006 in November. So they just missed Halloween, but never mind.
Yeah.
And it was written by Chris Chibbnall.
Oh, I know that name.
Yeah.
Rings a bell.
Directed by Andy Goddard. Stars the usual Torchwood team of Series 1. And a couple of cool, at least one cool supporting cast member. And the plot is roughly, there's a bunch of people that have gone missing out in the countryside and their bodies have never been found, no trace. The Torchwood team arrive to investigate. They assume that it's some kind of alien thing that's like, because they find bodies that have got no skin and flesh on. They find skeletons and all sorts. They assume it's an alien threat that's sort of feeding on human flesh. And it transpires that it's actually a big conspiracy within this little village somewhere that once every 10 years, the villagers go through something called the harvest, where they essentially kill and murder a load of people and, eat their... It's like cannibalism, essentially. And they're a bit crazy. It's like a village full of crazies because everyone's involved. The police are involved. It's all a bit... What's the director's name who did The Sixth Sense and The Village and stuff? What's his name? Night Shyamalan and McKnight or something like that. I can't remember
it, yeah.
It's all a little bit that. So in a nutshell, it's Chris Chibbnall ripping off another story, basically, which we saw in Series 11 quite a lot. Yeah. What do you think to this one, buddy?
Yeah, it's very grisly, isn't it? Very bit gory, this one.
Very, yeah.
Bit gory. I don't know what I think of it, really, because I quite liked it on a first, back in, what was it, 2006?
Yeah.
This is one that sort of stuck in my head as, that was quite a good episode. And then I was watching it again last night, and I enjoyed the majority of it. And I thought sort of like the creepiness of it. It's like a horror film, really.
It's very
it's like a TV horror film, isn't it? But then there were bits of it that I really didn't like. In particular, all the stuff between Owen and Gwen. All this sexual tension and lust and getting in the way. And I don't know. It wasn't as good as I remembered, but I did sort of overall enjoy it. And it was, I remembered it being quite gory at the time. I still think it's quite gruesome in places, but again, not quite as bad as I remembered. So overall, yes. Yeah, I think it's a good episode, just not quite as good as I remembered. But I'm finding that as we revisit Torchwood, I'm finding that quite a lot, actually. It's not, I don't know if it's because we're reviewing Sarah Jane as well, which I'm just finding hits every note. It's like it's got fun, it's got action, adventure. With Torchwood, I remember thinking it was really good. And then as we're revisiting it, I'm finding it good, but I'm also finding a lot of fault with it. And I'm thinking like the cast gelling and stuff and the dialogue. I mean, some of the dialogue in this is terrible. But then it's Chris Chibbnall, so I shouldn't really be surprised at that. But yeah, I don't know. It's funny how the characters seem to sort of burst into these silly arguments in the middle of the most ridiculous sort of moment, and you sort of think, well, no, you wouldn't have that conversation then when you're locked in a room, would you? You'd save that for later and stuff like that. So as I'm going through Torchwood, I'm still enjoying it, but it's not as good as my memory thinks it is, if that makes sense. I'm sort of finding a lot of flaws in it, which I didn't sort of have on a first watch back in 2006, if that makes sense. And that's how I feel about this episode. I feel like it was good, And I kind of enjoyed watching it, but there's also quite a few flaws in it, which I think actually it's not as good as I remember. So yeah, a bit of a mixed feelings on this one, really. Yeah. What about you, mate? Because this is considered one of the better episodes, I think, by a lot of people. What do you think to it?
Yeah, no, I read you, mate. It's definitely considered one of the better ones, certainly of series 1. And because I didn't watch this when it was originally broadcast. What was it, like 12 years ago now? Something like that. And but I remember picking up the box set quite early and, you know, giving it a bit of a binge watch and so on, and thinking at the time, oh, this is pretty good. This is pretty good stuff. But now I think you're right. I think because we're watching it in comparison, not directly, but because we're doing it alongside like Sarah Jane and like the Tennant and Smith era of Who and stuff like that, it just doesn't seem, although it's set within the world of Doctor Who and obviously has Captain Jack and so on, because it's so far removed from Who. Like if you were to sit this down with somebody who hadn't watched Doctor Who either, so if you played them a few stories of Doctor Who and then played a couple of episodes of Torchwood, but you didn't tell them that they were connected, I don't think they would in any way think, oh, this is set in the same world as Doctor Who. It doesn't have the same vibe. Like when we were saying about, I think quite early on when we started reviewing Sarah Jane, we said that the production on Sarah Jane and everything seems to have the same vibe as Doctor Who.
Yeah.
You can tell that it's the crew, but it potentially has a bit of an overlap, and I don't know, it just feels like Doctor Who, whereas this, it's got a shade of class about it, where it just doesn't feel like, I'm not saying that it's as far as removed as Class, because Class was, apart from the cameo from Capaldi, had pretty much nothing to do with Doctor Who at all. You could have put any old sci-fi names to it and it potentially would have done better, I'm not sure, but Torchwood does feel very removed.
And I'm glad you mentioned Class, actually, because believe it or not, because that's the thing, and I know people would be saying, yeah, but Sarah Jane Torchwood are aimed at two totally different audiences. I get that, and I totally get that, but it's funny because the things that I'm picking up on Torchwood so far in the rewatch that I don't enjoy are elements that reminding me of Class. The things that I didn't like about Class are the things that I'm noticing I don't like about Torchwood, and it's things like sort of gratuitous language, like, so there's quite, the F word's used a few times, thinking, because it feels like it's thrown in because this is an adult Doctor Who show. We've got to have a few F's and blinding things going on in it, and we've got to have loads of gore, and we've got to have lots of blood because this is adult Doctor Who, and it's a bit too much sometimes. It just feels a little bit like gratuitous. And I'm thinking, so it was weird watching this last night. As I said, I do love the creepy atmosphere about it. The beginning, the first first 5 minutes with that woman in the car and she sees the body in the road and it's actually a dummy with a football for a head, and it's a really great creepy intro. I loved the first 5 minutes. Then we get, then they arrive and they have a bit of banter and that's all fine. And then there's all the good stuff where they're creeping around the buildings and you're wondering what on earth's going on and what is this alien threat, and it isn't an alien threat as it turns out. So there's some really great stuff going on in this episode. I really do think. But then there are other bits that, like I said, it just sort of did remind me of things to do with Class, which I just found really cringy. And I'm like, oh, no. It's like, like, as I said, this relationship that's come out of nowhere between Owen and Gwen, because I think they got locked in a cupboard, didn't they, in one episode, which might have been Cyberwoman, the other Chibbnall one, because I think he does reference his own episode in this a few times. He mentions whatever her name is that got turned into Cyberwoman.
Lisa, yeah.
Because old Owen, Yanto gets all upset and he's like, oh, you've forgotten her already. And I was thinking, yeah, we have. So he mentions that. And then, there's this sort of scene between Owen and Gwen in the forest near the beginning where they're doing all this sort of heavy breathing, and I'm like, wow, it's so uncomfortable, and so it doesn't feel natural at all. I don't like all this sexual tension in between the Torchwood group at all. You've got Jax lusting after everyone, and Owen and Gwen seem to be lusting after her, and she's with him at the end. And I think the thing I hate about that is because I really love the character of Reese, Gwen's boyfriend. He's such a likable character that every time I see Gwen going off with Owen or Jack and, doing naughty things, I'm like, oh, come on, Gwen. Yeah. How could you do that to it? And I just don't, it's a bit like the 10th Doctor and Rose relationship. I just don't think it needed it. Right. I don't enjoy those elements of the story personally. I just would much rather it wasn't there. So that scene in the forest at the start, I thought was awful when they're like doing all the heavy breathing and on against the tree.
Oh yeah,
it's just so cringy. And then there's another bit later when he's removing bullets from her where she's sort of got shrapnel in her, and he's removing all the shrapnel, and they're sort of almost getting it on then as well. And I'm thinking, oh dear. So bits like that just ruined this for me, really, because it was just, otherwise I thought it was quite a good, creepy episode with some good tension in it. And the music's brilliant in it. Don't know who did the instrumental music, but it really sets the tone for all the scenes. It's really good.
Very cool.
The creepy music. I've no idea who did it because it doesn't tell us on the Wikipedia, but it's not Murray, but I don't think, but whoever did it was good. Yeah.
No, it was good. It was, so I think I agree with you for the most part, mate. I think it just, my main problem with it, and I think this is my main problem with the first half of Torchwood, I suppose, is that they don't seem to have, and it surprises me a lot because Russell, set this all up and got it going, but it doesn't seem like they've decided on the chemistry properly between the characters, because if you were to look at it from Captain Jack's point of view, everything's cool. He's like the Colgate smile, sexy American guy, and everything's cool from his perspective, and he's got his team of Torchwood people and all that lot. It's great. But then if you look at it from someone like Tosh's perspective, especially in this one, she would rather be, a million miles away, because she's got all that tension when they're around. They've just set up camp towards, at the beginning, and she finds out that Owen and Gwen kissed at some point, and she's all
she gets all up. Yeah,
she gets all salty with Gwen and stuff, and then a bit later on, she's still moaning about it when she goes off with Yanto and stuff. But then the bit where her and Yanto are trapped when they get captured and they're down in the basement, she's yelling in Yanto's face like, "We do this to protect people, and we're here for a reason."
That's the scene I was on about, that unnatural dialogue. Yeah.
And then Yanto shoves her out the way because for some reason he wants to see all the gore in the fridge.
Yeah,
it's like they have these little arguments in between, and I get it because it's adult. It's not like Sarah Jane or Doctor Who that's aimed at a lower age audience, where everything's got a happy ending sometimes, and everything's in a nice little bubble and the world's fantastic and all that stuff. I get it. It's meant to be like this is more the real world. Adults see things. We do see the negative side of people, and we do see the affair that Gwen has with Owen and stuff. That's like real life stuff that happens. But I get it. But it just doesn't. It just seems at odds with the main premise of the show. So the whole premise is you've got these band of people that are there by choice because they're this cool band of it's almost like Robin Hood and his merry men. You've got Captain Jack and these people that are above the law, and they're there to protect people, and it's this cool thing. But then you have episodes like this where it feels like they would be each person in the team would want to be anywhere but in this team at this point.
Yeah. I mean, Gwen even says at the end that she's like, I had such a good life before I joined this team, and I had it all, good promotion, loving boyfriend, all this sort of stuff. And
now she's getting shot and sleeping with other people, and it's just,
But I'm finding the chemistry is the thing that's not really working for me on this rewatch. Between the cast, I know it does settle down. I'm sure it does. But that's the thing. Yeah, it's right. It's as if. So this is episode 6 of series 1. To me, they're still finding their feet, and the characters are being written sort of to suit the story every week as well. Like Owen is an absolute Wally. I'm trying to find a nice word that I can use on the podcast in this beginning of this, isn't he? He's such an irritating. he's just so annoying at the start of this episode, and he's coming out of all these sarky comments and trying to upset everyone in the group. And actually, that's the thing. Out of all the characters, I'm not really liking any of them. They're not really that likable, are they? Like Gwen's cheating on Owen, which I don't like, and she's being all thing, and then you've got Owen just coming out and being horrible to everyone, and Tosh I'm liking. I'm warming towards Tosh a bit. And Yanto to an extent, although he's a bit of a wet les, and then you got Jack going around with this tiny little piddly gun, which just looks pathetic.
Oh, the water pistol.
Oh, that when he's prancing around that little gun, I just can't take it seriously. But I mean, I like the character of Captain Jack. So out of the whole team, the only people I'm really liking so far in this series is Jack and Tosh. The rest of them are kind of like, and that's again, I don't remember feeling that particularly when I first watched this, but on a rewatch, I'm just thinking they're not particularly likable group of people yet, and they seem to want to just backbite at each other all the time. So I don't even know why they're together
all the time.
So yeah, it's just little bits like that I'm finding are different to my rose tinted memories of Torchwood, if you like. I don't remember all this stuff.
Yeah. No, it's strange. I mean, it does put you off the story because it's a good story. I mean, Chibbers has come up with a good concept, a good story. It's definitely got that sort of independent horror film about it. It's got that creepiness and the suspense builds up, and where the twist at the end is that the villagers are the ones that are doing the killing, and they're not hiding from like monsters or aliens or anything like that. So it's got a cool twist, and the guy that plays the main dude at the end, what's his name? I think he plays Evan. Is it Owen Teale? Yeah, who plays Evan and his wife. They're very, very creepy, and he puts in a cracking performance at the end.
He does. He really does, yeah.
Yes, and that scene where he's chasing Tosh out in the forest is suspenseful.
Oh, yeah, that is good, yeah.
So it's a really good horror-based... I mean, it's definitely a horror episode. It's got some...
The direction's really good, isn't it, by Andy Goddard? I gotta say, in terms of getting that, it does feel very claustrophobic, and it does feel like a proper horror film in many places, like that scene you just said, where he's chasing Tosh.
Yeah,
that is well directed, and you are on the edge of your seat, like, oh, is she? She's not going to die, but yeah, it's well done. Yeah, definitely well done. Yeah.
So there's some great performances in there from, especially Owen Teale. I mean, he nails that at the end.
He's great, isn't he? Yeah, he is very good.
Yeah, and it's really creepy when Gwen's, for some bizarre reason, she wants to interview him at the end to find out the reasons why they did it. She can't let it go. And when he just leans forward, and he just says, like, because we loves it. Just so sinister. And you can tell that they're all, beep, beep crazy.
Yeah.
And it just makes it even more chilling because there's all we know is this sort of mythical harvest thing that they do every. Yeah, I mean, it's great. The story elements are very good. The
concept is really creepy.
And if you're into horror films, if you're into your sort of suspenseful, gory horror, then this is definitely for you. It's definitely one of those creepy, suspenseful stories. It just needs the chemistry between the cast to kind of elevate it up to a really memorable. Because I don't know about you, because when I first watched this a few years ago, the only things that I remembered until I watched it last night was the twist at the end, and also the opening scene with the woman in the car, and Gwen getting shot when they have like the run around the pub.
Yeah,
but I don't remember the other little bits that make up the story until I watched it last night. So there's a few key elements in there that I remembered, and I thought that sounds, I remember that being very cool. But one thing that, apart from the chemistry stuff aside, is that for some reason this felt longer than what I remember a Torchwood episode being. I know it's meant to be, was it just under an hour? It's 50 minutes.
Yeah.
But for some reason, when it got to the bit where Tosh and Yanto are trapped in the basement, for some reason I thought to myself, have we been watching this for over an hour already? It does feel like it's gone on for quite a long time until you get to the twist at the end.
Yeah.
Because I felt at the end, I thought that was fairly good. That's a fairly good watch, but I feel like I've just been sat in front of the TV for ages. Did you feel that?
A little bit. I wouldn't say that's one thing I will say about this episode. I wasn't bored, even in the bits I found cringy. I was never bored during this episode. I will say that. It definitely keeps my attention more than other episodes that we've watched so far. So that's good. But yes, I do know what you mean, because I think it was around about the same time, actually. I was starting to feel like there was a little bit of filler. Sort of thinking, so they've been put there, but now they've come to get them to take them. And I was thinking, well, why didn't they just take them to him to begin with? Why did they lock them up first? And so it was more to do with, as I said, I wasn't bored, but it was more to do with, I was thinking Chibbnall does that sometimes, where he's got a storyline, but then he kind of hasn't got anywhere else to go with it. So he starts putting in these scenes which don't take the story forward at all. So I kind of get what you mean. It did feel like a slightly just long episode, but I wasn't bored. I must admit, a bit filler in places. But yeah, I will say it did hold my attention. That definitely did hold my attention, the story, even the cringy bits.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I wasn't reaching for my phone or wishing it was done. I just thought when it was done, I thought, crikey, was that a film? Was that a Torchwood sort of mini film I've just watched? For some reason, it just seemed to, I don't know, it just feels like a longer episode than what it actually is. But
yeah.
And did you like the fact that they set up camp and then somebody steals the car and, trashes everything and goes off? Because that really starts the ball rolling from that point for me. So when then Yanto starts tracking it and they end up at the little village and stuff like that. Initially, I thought it was going to be some kind of zombie episode, because normally that sort of zombie outbreak thing is where, little villages and places like that are deserted and so on. But there's one thing that I didn't quite understand. And that is, because the story was kind of set up that way, the twist at the end doesn't really make sense for the rest of the story. And let me explain very, very quickly. So when they get to the village after the car's been stolen, all of the buildings, like all of the homes and the village pub and everything like that, all the windows have been smashed and everything's, knackered inside and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So it makes it look like some kind of, aliens really done a number on the place, or it's like a zombie outbreak or something like that. And then when you get to the twist at the end, it turns out that it's just a small group of villagers that have done it. So why did they trash their own village? Do you know what I mean? So they kill people and then they drag them down into the basement, whatever, to chop them up and put them in the fridge or do whatever they do with it. Why did they look so like they've been homeless for like 6 months or a year, and they've trashed all of their own buildings and they've, done a number on it? Where they're the ones that are doing it. It's like there's one lad with a shotgun.
Yeah.
So that's what I couldn't figure out as I got to the end of the story. I was like, oh, that's really cool, but why does the village look like something out of a zombie film where it's the villagers themselves that have killed people and dragged them into the basement? That bit just didn't click with me for some reason. But that's just Chibbers, I suppose.
No, I hadn't really thought about that, but it's a good point, actually. Yeah, because everything's boarded up and trashed. I don't know. Unless they're supposed to be from a different... I don't know. Unless they're from a different village and that's the village they've taken over. I really don't know. I hadn't thought about that, but it's a good point, actually. Yeah, because they do. Because if they're only doing it for that time of the year, and then for the rest of the year they go back to being normal citizens, so good morning and all that sort of stuff. So why, if they're only doing it for that short time when they have this harvest.
Exactly, yeah. It's like for the next 9 years until the next one rolls around, they then have to then repair and rebuild all of their buildings in the village. Well, all they needed to do really was just keep the basement free.
Yeah.
Weird.
I'm not sure about the twist either. I mean, in a way, I quite like it because you do think it's an alien, don't you? Because you sort of see something moving about in the background. Oh, what was that? Yeah. So you assume it's going to be alien, and it turns out just to be just a load of cannibals. I just don't know. I kind of like it because it's a different twist, but you kind of feel like, Torchwood is, I don't know. I'm still not really sure about the twist, to be honest. I think I like it.
Yeah.
I don't know. It just sort of takes away the sci-fi element. It's a bit like bit like that thing in Demons of the Punjab, where those great-looking aliens just turned out to be there just to witness to be there when someone dies. It's like, oh, it's quite a nice twist, but it also feels a bit underwhelming, doesn't it?
Exactly, mate. This is the thing with Chibbers. We saw that a lot in Series 11.
Yeah.
Where in some of the stories, it's actually the humans that are the problem.
Yeah.
And we see that here. It's nothing to do with monsters or aliens. It seems to be a thing with Chibbers. He wants to highlight that, yes, there are baddies and monsters and aliens in the world doing bad things, but if you look closer to home, it's it's our own race that are doing bad things.
Yeah.
And save that crap for Broadchurch. If you want to
Series 4.
Yeah, if you want to highlight, the human race doing bad things, then save that for your other non-sci-fi based dramas.
Yeah.
We get that. We don't need to. This is a sci-fi show. Anyway.
Yeah. It's all right now and again. I mean,
of course,
but that's the thing. I mean, yeah, it was a bit overkill in Series 11, definitely. But I don't know if they do it again in this series. So yeah, as a one-off, I think it kind of works. But it does also just feel a bit of a letdown, doesn't it? It's like, a little bit. They're just cannibals.
It's just the village crazies. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think the twist was good because it was sold very well.
It was, yeah, that's true.
Helen, played by Maxine Evans, she sold that very well. She was when she turns up with the shotgun, and she sells it to them, doesn't it? That she's been forced by these things to go and get them and take them somewhere. And it's not until they get in there that it all kicks off, and she changes immediately, and you can see their insanity come out and stuff. So I think the twist was sold very well. It was very cool, but it's just a little bit, I was expecting some really cool looking alien thing to be, gnawing on a bone of someone's thigh and, all that stuff. But I don't know. It's just,
It was sold well. I think because you get to meet that kid who's got the rifle.
Yes.
He's not part of it, is he? So
doesn't look like it. No.
No. What happens to him?
No, he survives, doesn't he? So I can't
remember. I only watched this last night as well.
Yeah, he gets taken into the basement, and if Captain Jack hadn't turned up and doing his Rambo moment.
Now you see that was another book point where I just thought that it was ridiculous. That was so cheesy. And I mean, why do they all just stand there and get shot? I mean, he takes out about 10 people.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, oh, come on. That did take it down for me. I thought that was a bit. I know what they were trying to go for, the epic moment of Jack comes in and saves the day, and there's empty bullet cartridges falling on the floor, and it's in slow-mo, and it's all epic. But for me, I was laughing. I said, that is so blimmin' cheesy. I said, how has he just shot all of them, and not got... How has he not got cannibalized? You know what I mean? It's just, that was a bit ridiculous, really.
Yeah, because they don't attempt to run away. They
just all stand there and get shot. He's just going boom, one, boom, two, boom. What is going on? It was just,
I know what you mean. Yeah, and they don't reach for their weapons either. They don't reach for anything. They don't run away.
No,
it's just a bit of a spotlight on Jack, and he's bit of a
at least he had a decent gun. I'll give him that. If he'd have come in and done it with his little water pistol, then I would have just had to have dropped off 2 points. But at least he had a decent gun doing it, I suppose.
It just felt like one of those moments in like a really old Stallone or Arnie film back in the day where he just rocks up and takes out everyone, doesn't get shot himself or harmed in any way. It's a bit of a hark back to the old action movies,
It was fun, I suppose. I just couldn't help but laugh and say, "Oh dear."
Yeah, it definitely provided an unintended comedy moment.
I bet John Barrowman loved that though. I bet he loved scenes like that. Can imagine him outside gearing up. Right, here we go, getting. He loved it.
Yeah. I can't really think of anything else that I've got.
I'm just looking at my list.
I've got the bit about Gwen getting shot. That was overly done. I think when the young lad fires the shotgun, she gets blown back off the doorstep and blood everywhere. And then the next scene, it's just grazed her side. There's just a few bits in her side. So I thought, well, she's clearly not dead. She's in it for the rest of the show, so she's not dead. But how are they going to explain this one then? Because it looked like she got shot, full in the stomach sort of thing. But it turned out it's just a little bit of shrapnel in the side. It's nothing bad.
Yeah, it does go from like she's running around after she gets shot. She's fine 1 minute, and then at the end she's like gripping. Oh, I'm gonna faint. Yeah.
So that was on my notes as well. That's yeah.
No, I mean I haven't got much more on my notes. The only thing I thought the supporting cast were good. As I said, the people playing the cannibals.
Yes.
They were well cast because not only did they act the part well, in the nicest way, they looked really creepy as well, didn't they? Just their whole demeanor and everything about them just looked really creepy. So I thought that they were really well cast. In fact, there was nobody bad in this, particularly in terms of performance with the supporting cast. I think they were all really, really good, especially the main guy. I don't know what he was called.
Evan.
The guy who chases Tosh through the thing. He was very good. He's one of those actors as well that I recognise from other things, but I'm like, but I can't place him. I'm sure I've seen him.
He's in Game of Thrones.
Is he? Well, I don't watch that, but I'm sure I've seen him in other things.
He's been in loads of stuff, but I think he's mainly known for these days anye, Game of Thrones.
Game of Thrones. Yeah. Is there anybody that's not in Game of Thrones? No. Everybody's in that.
No.
So the supporting cast very good. I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about the main cast, or do you think they're just pretty?
Well, we've spoken about them, I think. I haven't really got. I mean, Owen was quite annoying for the bulk of it. Gwen's wasn't he? He was written as a real little
bleep. Yeah, Gwen was just being
She's turned into a slag. Owen's turned into an annoying little beep.
Yanto's turned into a crybaby, but actually he always is, isn't he?
Yeah.
But I thought Tosh stepped up to the plate a little bit because she's been in the background so far this series, and she had some good moments. I thought she did come to the fore a little bit more in this episode. I thought like she felt a bit more like getting stuck into the action and things. So I did like Tosh in this one.
She was okay actually. Yeah, she was okay.
And Barrowman's just being typical Barrowman, isn't he? Captain Jack jumping around corners with his little gun. So neither good or bad, just typical Barrowman. So, they did, nobody particularly shone from the main cast for me in this. I think they all just kind of were there and were fine and good and that's all well. But there wasn't anybody I thought, so and so was really good this week, or they really took the lead in that episode. They kind of all had their own little bits to do, but that was about it, really.
No, I agree. I concur as usual.
But positives for me would be direction, very good. I thought the music was good. I believe it might have been Ben Foster looking down the list here, which is, what's his brother's name that does the proms? Or is it Ben that does the proms?
It is Ben that does the proms, yeah.
Oh, right. Well, I think he might have done the instrumental music in this, looking at Wikipedia, but I could be wrong. But thought the music was good in it. Direction good. Supporting cast good. I just don't like this sexual chemistry between the Torchwood thing. Didn't she go off with Jack at one point as well, or have we already had that?
Well, she's kissed him a couple of times, hasn't she already?
Yeah, it reminds me of the Doctor and Rose stuff. I just don't think it needs to be there. But otherwise, I thought it was a fairly decent episode, actually. Overall, fairly decent.
Okay.
Certainly very watchable.
Well, it's your turn to go first, actually. So why don't you drop a score?
Yeah, I'm going to drop a 7 on this one. A 7, yeah. Yeah, it could have been better, I think, but I think it was decent. So 7.
Cool. I'm going to go with a 7 too.
A 7 as well.
Yeah, I'm not going to change my mind. I had a 7 written down after I watched it, and I'm going to stick with that. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Just think it was just a decent Torchwood story, really. Just a few little things that bring the scores down. Which, obviously, with hindsight, you can gleefully say what they are, but yeah.
Just briefly, do you wish they'd brought the cannibals in a bit earlier?
Yes. I think the twist is good.
Yeah.
But it could have benefited a little bit because I think in the middle it does go a little bit filler, a little bit.
Bit saggy. Yeah, the reason I say that is because I think that's the problem is that the twist is good, so you don't want it till near the end. But I also think you've got such a good supporting cast. I kind of think they should have been in it a little bit more. But I suppose that would have ruined the twist. So fair enough.
Fair enough. Well, there's our scores. What did our beautiful listeners think? We had a few people comment over on Twitter. Jake B said one of the most overrated episodes of Torchwood.
Oh,
a bit unoriginal and uninspired. Feels like just like any other horror film. A 6 out of 10. Spencer Shively says, watched this a couple of months ago before we started doing series 11. Very cliched ending, but I think overall done pretty well. Really liked Owen Teal from Game of Thrones at the end, and liked the bits in the beginning with the whole gang talking. 7 flayed skeletons out of 10. Jordan Shortman, one of our writers on the site, says, one of my favourite Torchwood episodes. It terrified me when I was younger, thanks to Owen Teal's performance. Love Owen's comments on camping. They're my exact thoughts. Full of horror cliches and references, but really a fun 40 minutes that gives the whole gang something to do. Jamie Aspinall says, one of the best stories in Series 1 and one of the best in the Whoniverse, written by the man himself, Chibbers. Worth a watch, since Chibbers might have ruined Doctor Who, but hopefully not for good. 8 cannibals out of 10. Mark Shamans says, I think it's the best thing Chibbnall has written. Actually, it could be the only good thing he has written.
Oh
dear. Walter M says, I especially like this episode as how scary and creepy it was, plus a definite change of pace. And Pete Adamson says, gory, just gory. No wonder it was rated an 18 in Ireland.
Was it?
Wow. Over on Facebook, we had a few there. Ryan McGivern says, arguably the best Torchwood episode. It feels as if the team are in genuine danger with a messed up villain, which made the situation feel unpredictable at times. It works really well as a standalone episode, and 9 out of 10.
It definitely has a good threat level. I will say that.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Carl Elwell says, this is where Jack's theme comes into play, according to Ben Foster, for the first time. The lyrics he made up for this, here he comes with a bloody big tractor. Makes sense if you watch the final 10 minutes. Yes, it does. Also, the chilling finale where Owen Till is asked what they do, and he just responds with tears in his eyes because we loves it. Gives it a 9 out of 10 as well. Martin Vincent over at Bad Wolf says, haven't seen it for a while, but I remember quite liking this one. I always questioned why Jack let Gwen run into the building first, though.
Yeah,
Jack, you wimp.
You big wimp.
This one is also improved if you listen to the Big Finish audio broken. It fills in a few plot holes from this series.
Oh, maybe we'll find out why they trash up their own pub.
Yeah. Cheers, mate. And lastly, Andrew Cuthbert says, Owen Teal makes for a truly terrifying villain. It's one of my favourite stories of the first series. Can we take a moment to praise the direction during Jack's gun scene? Gives it 8 dodgy pies out of 10. Dodgy pies.
Dodgy pies.
So that's it for our listener reviews. Thank you so much for taking the time to do that. Next week, we are back on to newer Doctor Who. So what have we got next week, buddy?
Yeah, next week, 11th Doctor, 2-parter. So we're going to be reviewing the Rebel Flesh and the Almost People. So we're going to be doing them as both parts next week.
That's, a good point. Because we're stretching over our schedule, we'd be doing the second part a month later. Might be a bit disjointed. So the Rebel Flesh and the Almost People, the old Matt Smith gooey Play-Doh people.
Pretty sure I haven't watched this since it aired.
I'm pretty sure.
So I'm kind of looking forward to going back to it in a strange way. I mean, there might be a reason I haven't rewatched it, but I'm kind of looking forward to giving this another go, because I genuinely can't remember anything apart from Matt Smith having a gooey face.
Yeah, I think I've seen this one twice over the years.
Yeah,
I haven't
might have watched
it in a long
since.
time.
I'm not sure, but yeah.
Yes, but there we go. Get that watch, get that 2-parter watch. We'll be asking for your thoughts on that as always next week. And I think we'll wrap there for 218.
Okay.
Thank you so much for sticking with us through episode 218. Bit of a short show, this one. There was no news to speak of. One bit of merch, which is the B&M 4th Doctor Regeneration Bigger and TARDIS set, which will be out hopefully pretty soon. And obviously our review of Torchwood Countryside. Reasonable scores, a 7. Not too bad. And most of our listeners liking that one. So obviously a popular story within Torchwood.
Yeah.
Next week, Matt Smith, the 11th Doctor, the Rebel Flesh and the Almost People. So get your box sets out, get that watched, so we can get your thoughts and views on that one as always. In the meantime, head over to the website www.bigblueboxpodcast.co.uk. You can listen to every episode on the website. There's also buttons there to link off to all the various podcast networks. If you subscribe to the show, you'll never miss one, as it lands on a Friday morning And if you're an iTunes subscriber, if you could spare a minute for a review or a rating, that would be awesome because it helps us out loads. And there's also buttons on there to link off to the various social networks as Adam and I chat Doctor Who during the week. Check out Adam's channel, The Geek's Handbag, on YouTube.
Yes, The Geek's Handbag.
Very cool YouTube channel, loads of videos to worth checking out. And you're also on all the socials under the same name. So just do a search for The Geek's Handbag. He's everywhere. He's everywhere. Until next week, my name's Gary.
My name's Adam.
And remember, Allons-y.